Namaste.
Pranam.
And Jai Ho, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bhais podcast. This is episode 3. We've gotten 2 completed and uploaded. You can go check those out. I'll drop the links here. If you haven't watched those, no worries. You can watch them back now or you can watch them back later. Totally fine. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. That helps us to get the message out there, and we truly appreciate it. So,
speaking of appreciation, we also want to thank you, each and every one of you, for taking the time to listen to these conversations. Also being a part of it. We got a lot of wonderful feedback, a lot of support, and it's continuing to grow. So, our humble thanks.
Humble. Thank you. Dhanyavad. And, Rekhe, some of the comments have just been so heartwarming. I mean, people who have taken the time to really express, your sentiments, a lot of appreciation, saying that this is something that is needed. And we felt the same way, and we, as being 2 friends who just happen to be pundits, we enjoy these conversations. This is what has fueled our friendships, for over a decade, and our spiritual journeys as pundits, right? And just as humans.
Souls, 100%. And especially in the last conversation we had, a lot of folks had no idea. As far as like you stated, if especially when it comes to sanskars, right? If people know about the 16, then
it's it's a win. That's a good starting point, right? But so many times we don't even know that there are 16, and we don't even know that these are things that have been set in place, right? Again, we talk about the blueprints. You'll probably hear some themes across this podcast as we move forward. The blueprints have been there, right? And we have been given it. But how do we know how to build a building if, we don't know how to build a building, if we don't have something to go off of, the plan?
Format, the framework.
Absolutely. So in the same way, right, how do we know we need to do sanskars and to enrich our lives, not only our lives, but our atmas, which is the spiritual, the latent impression, the spiritual sciences, and the latent impressions on our atmas, right? These are the things that have existed for centuries upon centuries.
Janams after janams.
Yeah, yugas after yugas.
and the same atma we've had.
Definitely.
Through those times.
And that's an important distinction, right? I mean, how many people do you really understand, like, the depth of that? Is that you are this, like, you have never changed. Like, really, who you are, who we are, at its core has never changed. Like, we've been the same divine being, right, throughout. What has changed is everything around us, right? What changed are, the vasanas. What changes are the bodies, the clothes, essentially, right? As Sri Krishna says, just like the soul, we change clothes, regularly. The soul changes bodies,
and all those experiences, they help us to elevate our soul's journey, or those moving pieces that are when we're embodied. All of those things that we're experiencing. They can either uplift us, or I don't want to use the word degrade, but
no, we can a different direction.
Different
maybe
direction.
Right? But we all know like what happens. And again, well, we don't know what happens, but we have a general idea, right? Nobody really knows what happens to any soul, right? We're never meant to have that type of information. Anyways, we're getting into some really deep spiritual, we're starting down that road, and that's easy to happen. We do want to make this as relatable as possible, so we promise to get into maybe some lighter topics. If you stick around with us, we'll do something a little bit differently later that you'll check out. But as we're talking about, sanskars, which something is really what's happened recently, which we both...
History has been made.
History has absolutely been made. And it's something where you that term gets thrown around a lot. History has been made, but when we think about it in the sense of the Vedas, right? The Vedas we say that they're apaurusha, which means that they are not man-made, right? They have existed. They are eternal.
Timeless, yeah.
They're timeless, right? So this knowledge has always existed. And when you talk about history, how do you talk about history for something that has always existed? And this just goes to show like how, the cycle of Sanatan Dharma is people are always say like, Dharma is under attack, or Dharma is dying, or Dharma is diminishing, and all these different things. Right? On the decline, yeah. But, and then we see something like this. What happens, right?
Just, gives us that that
jolt.
Drive, yeah.
Yeah, that jolt of what we need. And if you don't have no idea what's going on, then you've probably seen this kid. Maybe on your social media. If you follow either one of us, then you've definitely seen it, because we posted about him. But Devrat, Mahesh, Rekhe, actually
Vedamurti.
Right?
Yeah.
The title.
Image. The Ved means the knowledge, and the Murti means the image of. So he's the very image, the very epitome of what knowledge is, and that's his title now.
Yeah.
He's not like a Mahamuni, he's not a Pandit, Purohit, he's a Vedamurti.
Yeah.
And this is something that hasn't been done in generations, let alone years.
Mm-hmm.
So
centuries, I think. I think
200.
they said in recorded history, it's the fourth time in recorded history, and I don't know how were they recording history. We know that for our ancient Indian and Dharmic history, it's been lost, right? And it's not accurately represented. But even that, they say 4 times. This is like 4 times, that's ever been done.
And that says something, especially
more people have walked on the moon, have been recorded to have walked on the moon,
than have been able to
I just thought about that.
And that too, just himself. So what he's done, you can even get into a little bit about the Shukla Yajurved, one of the Vedas.
So there's the Vedas has been the Yajurveda has been classified into 2 sections: the Shukla and the Krishna. Right, essentially the white and the black. That's the literal translation, right? So, and there's a whole history behind that. You can Google it. If you want us to get into it at a later episode, we certainly can. Just let us know in the comments. But essentially, this is how the Vedas were preserved. Before anything was ever written down, it was all through oral tradition. And people always wonder, well, how do you know that something is accurate, right? We know the telephone game, right? You play telephone and somebody says something and then it passes on, and by the
time it gets to me, it's something else.
Something completely different, right? And our rishis knew this. Our rishis, they knew that in order to make in order for this to be possible, there had to be a specific system that would be designed to preserve these ancient scriptures. And what they did, they used sound, they used memorization, they used chanting, and they used systems like the Dandakram, right? To be able to, and we can get into that a little bit, but to be able to use and utilize these tools to pass the Vedas down for many generations.
Oh yeah. The Guru Shishya Parampara is something that it's something that connects the Guru and the Chela and the disciple outside of physicality. It's already a deep connection, and what he was able to, what this tradition and what it's been able to do, it's been able to preserve in such an amazing way all of this, not just spiritual knowledge, but
the method of chanting, the exact pronunciation,
the meters,
the swaras,
right? Yeah, the different chants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Specifically, he had to, for 50 days in a row.
Yeah.
For 50 days in a row, he was chanting from memory the Shukla Yajurved.
No books, Nothing. No other tools.
From whatever he was learned, whatever he was taught, he had that memorized, and he had a room in where he was chanting. He was also, I wouldn't say supervised, but he had scholars, Sanskrit scholars.
Yeah.
Rishis.
Vyakaracharyas, Vidvans, all these.
Meaning like the vocabulary and the details, the grammar. Specific, from the chant, from the meter in which he was chanting, from the syllables and pronunciation. It was a room full of seers and saints that were just overlooking and making sure that everything was, done correctly, and he did not make one mistake.
No, and over the course of that 50 days, he chanted over 2,000 mantras. 2,000 mantras over 250 padas, which are the metrical units of sound, and they vary per mantra, but these are, I mean, just to think about it, it's just incredible. It's just no other way to put it.
Yeah.
Virtually impossible. Oh, but anything is impossible until it's done. And this is the thing, right? This isn't like only 4 times in recorded history, but this is way back in the Vedic period. This is how they did it. This is how they preserved it. And this is like, we talk about one person right now and how many ever, hundreds, thousands, maybe even years. But this is like, they were hundreds, if not thousands of people back then that did this. Like, that was their capacity. And, we talked about it. We owe our pitris, our ancestors, our gurus, our rishis, our munis, all of them, our most humblest pranams, because they were the ones who set that tone.
And the reason why Sanatan Dharma is alive today.
Absolutely.
This Guru Shishya Parampara that is done through Vakya, through word of mouth.
100%.
That's the reason why we have our Dharma.
Yeah.
In the last podcast, we touched a little bit as to what could have been. With all of the loss of the scriptures, but even to that, this is why we didn't have to depend on that.
And we talked about people always saying Dharma is on the decline, and Dharma is there's a threat to Dharma, and all these different things. And yes, there does exist. There's a rise in Hindu phobia, which is another topic that I want to get into another time in due course. But when you see things like this, you realize that there is a rise in Dharma as well.
Yeah, very much alive. Our Dharma is very much alive. And we look at these feats, these divine feats, I must say, and it gives us a jolt of inspiration to not just keep on going as a Purohit or as a Pandit, but even for this conversation,
Of course. As you talk about that, we talk about Dharma in decline. One of my favorite quotes, I heard this, quite a bit in the past few years. It says that the arc of justice is long, but it curves towards good. And when I think about that, I thought about that just now when we talk about Dharma, right? Dharma has been threatened. They've tried to extinguish it. They've tried to get rid of it. They've tried to kill it, burn books, destroy temples, kill off, so many learned people. And so many different tribes, when we talk about so many all over, right? And Dharma has never been a religion to conquer or to focus on converting, right? And even with all these odds stacked against it, right? How does it still have that kind of that arc to where it's coming back now?
That's where there's got to be substance.
Yeah.
There wasn't substance to it.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a way that we can connect and develop our Atma, right? 100%. Develop this awareness.
Yeah.
Going back to that a little deeper, but at the same time, very important. This is the reason why Sanatan Dharma is not a religion. It's a path that any human being in their experience can take. Look at meditation. Look at yoga.
Yeah.
Right? We don't go into yoga studios and say, hey, you're not a Hindu.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
No, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
There's no limits.
No, there isn't. Sometimes I feel, though, like with yoga, we need to be like, hey, it's not just about, stretching up your body. And so, I mean, that's perfectly fine.
But even to the other things that are out there, like beer yoga,
goat yoga. Like when the first time I saw beer yoga, man, I wanted to I wanted to scream. I was like, "What is this?"
I think I did scream.
Yeah. The goat yoga is actually kind of nice because as an animal lover, I like, it's nice, but then it's just a gimmick, guys, and we do all these different things.
It takes away from the essence.
It takes away from the absolute essence. That's what I was referring to, Like sometimes I just want to be like, hey, exercise aspect, the asanas are important, but at the same time, what is the purpose of yoga, right? We talked about it. To join, to bind, right? To get us that connection with that supreme. So I think overall, we go back to Devrat, Rekhe, and I think what you mentioned is something interesting too, where you talked about he wasn't supervised, but there were people in the room listening. And a lot of times, I was talking to this recently, and I think you and I mentioned it maybe, where sometimes there's always, like, even with some of the people that we know and some of the devotees in Dharma, people always we try to find the most convenient ways sometimes in Dharma. Like, how can we do sometimes even just maybe the bare minimum, or just to say that we did something, right? And when we do that, we take away from the true meaning. And it wasn't that those, all those learned Sanskrit scholars and those those individuals, those pundits, those vidvans, whoever was in listening to him, it wasn't that they were like looking for him to mess up, right? What they were there for is to make sure that the make sure that the parampara and the knowledge, the tradition is upheld.
The sanctity, yeah.
The sanctity is upheld.
Absolutely.
And how much time do we really do that these days? We do what we do, a simple ritual, and we call the pundit, and then, that's it, we done. Maybe we might fast for however we might fast, or whatever we do.
And a big shout out to all of our Yajman.
Yeah.
The only reason why we're able to speak like this is because we have Yajman who we have. And
100%. And who get it.
Yeah. We mean no disrespect.
Yeah.
We just want to be able to have these conversations to a point where it's something that
definitely
is very important.
Yeah, you're right. No, absolutely no disrespect, right? We that's not what we're here for. No disrespect to any yajman, anyone. I think you do a spiritual practice and you have that divine in your heart is, that's important. And even pundits, right? We talked a lot last time about the title of pundit, and we're not here to bash anyone. Absolutely. Pundit, anybody who takes up that responsibility of living a life of dharma, of teaching, of seva, of spreading dharma, right? For what it is, it's a big responsibility.
It is.
It's a huge responsibility that
with it comes great power.
As
the quote says.
Absolutely, yeah. Uncle Ben was right. Not the guy with the rice, right? Not Rice Man, but Spider Man. You see what I did there?
Nice.
Sorry. Sometimes you'll get some corny jokes. I just apologize. It comes with the territory, but no, there's a lot of eyes on pundits. There's a lot of it's sometimes it's an easy target,
especially in these cases of doing things out of convenience.
Yeah.
Right. There's certain Sanatan Dharma is one of the most realistic paths there is, and like you said, without trying to lose the essence of it out of convenience, we're doing a disservice to not just our yajman but ourselves.
Yeah.
And so this is why our pranams to you as well. To all of our Pandit Bhai Log, Behenjis as well.
And it doesn't mean that, things are perfect. And this is what we also want to address, why we feel compelled to speak sometimes, because like we're speaking out of a place of, hey, let's do better. Hey, how can we raise the level of just consciousness, like collective consciousness. And to see that, Dharma deserves to be protected. Dharma rakshati rakshitaha, right? Dharma deserves to be protected because we want that same Dharma to protect us, like it has protected our ancestors and protected that Dharma itself, right? And we want to be able to see how we all can improve, us ourselves included.
And this is another reason why you'll see us use the word samskar a lot. These are things that help us keep our baseline strong.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Stay rooted. Your Mooladhara has to stay
Mooladhara,
strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And rooted in Dharma at that.
Yeah.
And even going even in a tiny different direction, when it comes to spiritual knowledge is one thing, but even to spiritual sciences. We live in a world where meditation is on the rise.
Yeah.
Right? Regardless if you're a follower of Sanatan Dharma or not.
Yeah.
Things like meditation on the chakras. That's something that you should do only after initiation. Specifically.
Yeah.
There's many different things that, as far as repercussions, doing too many things spiritually without the right guidance of someone
100%.
who has walked miles in those shoes already.
Yeah.
It can sometimes do a little more damage than anything else. That's another conversation, but it's something that we should at least bring to the table.
Yeah.
Many of you will know what I'm talking about, and especially when it comes to, energy centers and energy. It's a big part of it, right?
Definitely. No, it's so true. It's one of the things that we don't really, like so many other things that we don't talk about. And really anything in spiritual practice really needs to be under the guidance of a guru. Someone who has walked this path and done the things that you want to do. We've talked before about, where do we start in a spiritual practice, right? How do we get into any spiritual practice? And it's one, finding the guru. And this is part of the Upnayana as well, right? It's finding that guru and not starting where you want to end, but, starting from where you need to be. Right? I know this is something that you said. At this point, yeah. Starting to where you want to be at this point, where you are at this point.
It's very important to be conscious of it and to be able to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Again, our ancestors were in a time where, I like this pandit, or I like this person. I want him to be my son's guru, or my daughter's guru. Meanwhile, the rest.
Yeah. No, and again,
not to judge.
No, it's not to judge, but I guess parents really, everybody wants their best for their children, and this comes also. It applies in spirituality, right? You're giving them the material knowledge, the material, the nice things. You're making their lives comfortable. You're making them happy,
leaving no stone unturned in their academic life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You'll do everything you have to do.
Extra lessons, extra tutoring. All these. The extracurricular activities, which are absolutely important. We did that. We music and all these other activities and sports, very important. But there also is the spiritual side of it. And I think that's the part that gets often, we'll figure it out, or don't even get addressed. And that's important because the spiritual development is what's going to help them get through those moments when you're not there, either physically or, just...
at the end of the journey.
At the end of the journey, that's what builds up the strength within, right? It's important to be able to set them up for success in life,
physically or metaphysically. This is again, it's a spiritual science that has been practiced for ages. And there's substance to it, and those of us who are walking the path or have been doing these things will you guys will be a testimony to that. you can drop your stories in the comments.
Yeah, please. Just let us know. And as parents, even as what are some things that you consciously do for your children? I know we both have been very fortunate to be part of a growing movement with this organization, or I guess it's an organization. It's kind of just a few parents and a few souls and Dharmic minds that are thinking forward.
Amazing initiative that's needed in today's society, in our Dharmic society. It's called Diya.
Yeah.
Light the Diya.
Light the Diya.
And, when it comes to knowledge, and spiritual knowledge especially, remember, Aham Brahmasmi. Mm-hmm. This physical body is powered by the Atma, by the soul, which is a light, right? And so light the Diya, I'm pretty confident that what they mean is when you light the Diya, all it takes is one Diya to be lit.
Yeah.
And then what can you do with that one Diya? You can have your Diwali.
Yeah.
You can have your Diwali and
your Deepavali, literally, right? A row of lamps.
And cheers to them.
Cheers to that.
I think last week you were blessed to be a part of.
Yes, I was very fortunate. I spoke on one aspect of light, Havan, right? And that was wonderful. The kids, they're so sharp because, like we said, the parents are doing their part to get them the academic knowledge, and you can see all these kids, they're sharp, they do well. You can tell they do well in school,
right? And they're infusing that into this as well. I was blessed today to join as well, and actually my pranams to Pandit Ravi, to Pandit Kuber, to Didi Kim, Didi Ash, Didi Nadia,
Dr. Bhairavi,
Bhabiji, and to the entire team. It's such an amazing initiative that is Kim? Going to
Kim?
I did.
Okay. Sorry.
I did. No. It's an amazing team that they've got, and it's been over a year, if I'm not mistaken.
And I didn't even know about. I mean, I knew about it because I saw him post. I think a couple times, but I didn't know there's a lot of kids that are joining in.
And it's not just pundits that are giving the presentation.
Right. Yeah.
Shout out to Gia.
She
did an amazing job today.
Great job.
And, they're giving presentations. And not just, saying, oh, why do I love Mother Saraswati? Not that's a great topic.
Yeah.
But to the point where the column of fire that Shankar Bhagawan, without getting too deep, with Mahavishnu,
no, please,
and Brahmadev, Lord Shiva himself, she narrated better than I'm going to do in this little synopsis, but basically Shivji, she expounded on the katha where from the Shiv Puran, where Shivji, in search of the beginning and the end of that divine light, that column of fire, Mahavishnu and Brahmadev, they went in their respective directions. And if you want a little more about it, we'll get into it.
Yeah,
but basically,
it
was beautiful, and it was informative. These things that they're doing, they're giving them tools that'll help them. Actually, Pandit Kuber said it on today's presentation. These skills are not just for the meetings, are not just for the mandirs. These skills are going to be able to go and to take it out into the world use them respectively.
So
and so we would like to give a little shout out to this amazing organization, and we'll leave a link.
We'll leave a link to their pages. They usually meet Thursday nights. I think with the holidays, there might be some times where they're not meeting. But we'll definitely, and we'll share it. We'll share it on our social media, our Instagram, our Facebook too. And if you have kids, it's a great way. It's only about, I think, 20 minutes, maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Or if you yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if, we're all kids in the eyes of God.
Yeah. But it's definitely for kids. And you mentioned Gia. Gia is very young, right?
Yeah, I would say she couldn't be more than 8 or 9.
8, okay, yeah. So that's awesome, man. I think that is what we need. We need more of. And parents, please, it doesn't have to be. Just get your children involved.
We speak of sense of urgency all the time. But you see, if you don't start now,
when are you gonna start?
And then later on, the thing is, right? If you the seed, right? When you plant the seed and you don't, the analogy I'm trying to look for, right? But basically, if you try it later, if you plant the seed and you don't give it any water, if you don't give it any care, now, how do you think it's gonna grow?
What's gonna happen?
And then even if it grows, long story short, what I'm basically saying is, if you don't start now, don't try to start later. You can try to start, but it's gonna be way more difficult. And
it's funny you mentioned that, and I sometimes these random stories come to my mind. But a few weeks ago, I met someone, and they had a piece of yard where they had put some sod, right? So you can clearly see that the grass, if you live in Florida, you know what St. Augustine grass is, right? The most annoying type of grass that you can possibly have. But anyways, you buy them in the squares, right? And then you place it down. So I go and I see that there's like a decent size, area of grass, and it's just sitting there and it looks dry, right? And I go, what happened to your grass? He's like, I just planted it. It hasn't caught yet. And I'm like, have you been watering it? Oh no, I asked him, who's been watering it? And he pauses and he goes, God. Meaning he's been waiting on the rain to come down and water this thing that he plants. Right? It's the same thing, right? You plant a seed.
Beautifully said.
You plant a seed and then you say, okay, God could water it for me, or God could take care of it for me. Right? But
it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
And then you try to, it's the same thing with the fruits. You won't be able to get the fruits if you're not giving it the right conditions.
100%. And it requires water, requires light, like you said. This is why that analogy just fits so many things in our Dharma. Mm-hmm.
So just imagine if we take a few moments to spend with our children, right? Mm-hmm. This is why we want to give credit to Dia and to all these other wonderful organizations that have taken this mission so seriously.
It's true. It's you talk about urgency. We have to start now. And we as a generation that has seen the benefit of that we got, and the lack of availability in a lot of things that we wish were more prevalent. We want to make that more accessible for the next generations, but it takes us, guys. So many of us, our generation. You have kids. You are molding them to be leaders of the future. We need them to be leaders in Dharma, in our culture, in our Shastras, in just who they are as people.
Right. Not just music. And music is a great part of it, speaking of music, quick little caveat. Hanuman Chalisa. Number 1 on Spotify, right?
YouTube. Yeah. What was it? How much? 5 billion? Was it 5 billion views or something like that?
5 billion, yeah.
Oh man.
It's amazing.
So, and that shout out to
Gulshan Kumarji.
Right?
God bless your soul.
God bless him.
And to Hari Haran, the voice that has been ringing in our lives.
Yeah. And shout out to every single person that clicked on that 5 billion times. And no matter how long you listen to it, right? You just
on the map.
Yeah. You're on the map, absolutely. And some of us have listened to it, a few of those 5 billion, of course. So definitely something to celebrate. This is what we like. We this is what we love to see is Dharma thriving, and Dharma doesn't need us, right? We need Dharma, and we benefit from Dharma.
Right. Remember, Dharma rakshate rakshataha.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
we protect our dharma. In turn,
yeah,
we will be protected.
we will always be protected.
And success will be yours.
For sure.
You'll also be able to gain, you know, what success really is.
Yeah.
On a spiritual level.
Definitely.
But all in all.
Yeah. We're on the mission. You're a part of it just by watching, just by, you know, liking, sharing, subscribing, anything that you can do to support. We truly, truly appreciate it. We just want to be able to connect with people who feel the same way about all these topics and vibrate at the same level that we do.
Yeah, and thank you to all of our subscribers
Yes,
already.
absolutely.
On all the platforms, from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube to Facebook. You know, it's not about the numbers, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
It's absolutely about the quality.
And that's all it's about. And so we thank you. You know, right now we're the chosen few.
Yeah.
But it's just the beginning.
And we can't thank everyone enough who has shared it, and we ask you please continue sharing it. You know, that's one of the things we unfortunately this is how the social media world works, is that things that get more eyes, you know, and engagement reaches a larger audience. So again, we'll wrap up this episode, and we thank you guys so much for watching. Namaste,
Pranam,
and Jai Ho. Until next time.